Southwest Scotland on a frosty January morning really can feel magical. Low mists rise from the fields as the sun melts the frozen dew, and it feels good to be alive. The land feels peaceful and warm, like an old friend. Come with me today as I take us back to where I found a love for what it is I do now.
Hello and welcome to the Hoof GP. You're joining me today as me and my brother James, Parker, sculptor, scramble up the side of this cliff to go and take a look at a huge dike or dry stone wall that was on the farm where we grew up. It's literally years since I walked up this hill, and now I realise how unfit I am. So this is my brother James. A lot of you guys will have seen his videos at James Parker Sculpture because I kind of mentioned them a few times. And we came back here today to our farm where we grew up, which is called the Knock. It's right on the southwest Scottish coast, to kind of see why it is that I'm interested in cows and see why it is he is interested in sculpture and building things out of stone. In this case, it's building a thing called dike, so you guys would call it a dry stone wall if you're in Englandshire. So we're going to take a walk down, show you what a dry stone wall is, and show you why it is and where it is that he acquired the skills that he kind of still puts into practice, but in a loose term it's where they began. He's obviously honed them a lot since then. And show you a bit of the farm that got me interested, or kept me interested, in cattle. Right on the edge of these cliffs there's actually an old Roman fort. I've no idea how many thousand years old it is, but you can actually see where they dug out, because this point actually points right out into the ocean or the sea. And it was a great vantage point for anybody who was coming to Scotland, to the shores, be it good or bad. You can see it actually nestles right on the cliffs here, literally on the very, very edge of the cliff, and extends right the way down to the point there. So I'm sitting right on the very point of what used to be a Roman fort, and this is where we grew up. We used to play around here, and as we're walking down here we're talking about how freaked out we would be if our children were walking around this part. But as you can see, it is totally beautiful, and that's kind of why I love the area so much. Camera, it is pretty awesome, some of the places dikes are built.
can see this is quite an unusual bit of wall because it's got a cheek end at either side. That's those straight ends that you can see, which basically points towards the fact that the bit in the middle wasn't there originally, and that was because this used to be a horse track, and horses used to travel from up at the farm down to the beach to collect seaweed and things like that.
I honestly don't remember what James's memories are, obviously, of growing up here, but I loved cows. I loved calves. I loved playing around in the fields and feeding them, checking on sheep, all sorts of things. I really loved it. I mean, I think of the knock, and when I grew up, I think of running around in the fields, catching lambs, making sure they've got numbers, making sure they're with their mums, and moving calves down really dusty roads with their mums, and flies hitting us in the face, being covered in cow crap. Nothing's changed at all, he's right. And that kind of always made me enjoy working with animals, obviously cows in particular, and obviously I had a lot of stumbling blocks with regard to career. I worked in hospitality and all different things like that. But as I remember it, and correct me if I'm wrong, James, stream. As I remember it, James was obviously quite a bit older than me when we still had the farms.
Still am as well.
I think, well, I don't know if that's true, but anyway, he says he's still a bit older. But I remember James gapping walls and diking, and I never did any of that because I was either too little or just not trusted with it. And I remember you driving tractors, and I drove a tractor once or twice, but
yeah, I remember from about the age of 4 or 5, we'd be given the quad bike, and we used to put our sandwiches in the back of it, and Graham would come along, maybe you just can't remember it, but we'd come along and we'd rebuild the wall, and the big stones that used to go in the top, if they weren't big enough, we'd leave a pile at the side of the wall, and Dad would come along later and put those on. But no, Graham, like the rest of us, was always really enthusiastic about looking after the cows and sheep on the farm, and those are things I can remember too. It's nice to reminisce, and you wonder if things had worked out differently, exactly what we'd be doing now.
Dad used to have a motorbike, and my job would be I'd be sitting on the back of it, and we'd pull up to a gate and he'd shout right, and I would jump off the quad that we had then, open the gate, he would drive through and I would jump back on, and I used to feel really important, like what would Dad do if I wasn't here, like how on earth would he get through the gate?
Yeah.
I think he would have managed it though, to be fair. We were just walking along here and we were talking about how James basically became to be a sculptor who sculpted in stone and things, and he had this little hole here called a lunky hole, and these are like features of Scottish landscape, or Scottish dry stone dikes as we call them, or dry stone walls. Basically it's just for sheep to travel from that field over there into here, into this field, so that there's more access to grazing basically. And features like this, like James would learn how to fix these, or he would just even see them, and that's in the back of his mind when he's building some of his sculptures, whether he realises it or not. And it's basically how he got a foundation in doing what he does.
This cairn overlooks Luce Bay. My great-grandfather built it around 80 or 90 years ago as a lookout post for ships arriving into the bay. On a clear day you can see Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales and even the Isle of Man. It truly is an amazing view. Now before heading over to James Parker Sculptor's channel to watch his version of this video, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up so that everybody else can see it, and remember to smash that subscribe button if you haven't already done it. Cheers guys, see you soon.